Welcome to another episode of Creative Questions. On today's show, we have another first. We have two people who are coming on today. They are podcast hosts and from the creative side come from a comedic lens. One of them is a comedian. One of them is a comedian and a designer. We have on JF Harris and Jesse Goldman. In today's episode, we talk about making adult male friends and how hard it is. We talk about their podcast, The Mood Board, and we talk about viewing social media like a stand-up comic views social media. So it was a very fun and electric episode. I hope you guys really enjoy. Here are JF and Jesse. How are you all doing? How's your day going? I'm excited to have you guys on. It's been a little bit, but how are you guys doing today?
I'll go first. I was just about to tell you. I got a 2.5-year-old who is always getting me sick, and you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm 75% better, but it's just been pounding sinus. I'm good. I'm good now though, but it's like kids, man, kids. But other than that,
the every 2-hour thing where you're doing baby stuff and you're just tired and just can't sleep and
oh my god, cause we got a 2.5-year-old and we got a 1-month-old, and we the 2.5-year-old was not a great sleeper, and he finally figured it out, and then we decided to fuck the whole thing up by having another one. Can we curse on this, by the way? I can. Okay.
Of course.
I probably couldn't happen.
How are you doing, JF?
I'm good. I woke up, rolled out of bed, read the newspaper, made my wife breakfast, made myself coffee, read the paper, made a fun video about the state of the current country, making fun of Pete Hegseth, or whatever the heck his name is, Hegseth.
Hegseth.
Yeah.
I hate saying it.
I know. And then, then came out to the office to do some office work. And then that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Office work is just writing stand-up jokes.
I mean, that's the best kind, right? It's the best kind of work. It's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Trying to get this scheduled, you guys were, of course, doing a lot of big life stuff. I had reached out. What was it? I think it was in January. And JF, you were getting married, and Jesse, you were having a new kid. That's so exciting, and I just wanted to touch on that and say congratulations. And I'm excited for both you all. How has that been? How is life now?
Still just as crazy, just different crazy.
Yeah.
I think we've both been kind of pretty swamped in life with our just all of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, we both have ways we have to make money, right? Jeff's working and he's working on comedy, doing everything he can to make money that way, and I'm remote graphic designer with Apple, and that's just our day jobs. And then we have this podcast together, which, if you want to do a show right, it's a lot. It's development, it's editing, it's developing the episodes, it's research. It's so much work there. And then we also happen to have, spouses and families that we want to attend to. And we have to eat food. I keep hearing about that, eating food and exercising, and
I'm having no problem finding food. I think I've put on 10 pounds since our wedding.
Oh my god, you were so happy about your fighting weight for the suit. You look great. He invited me to his wedding. We're very new friends, and I got invited to the wedding. It was a beautiful wedding. Oh yeah.
I thought you guys were. Your guys' the way you guys deal with each other seems like you've been friends for a while. It's really cool.
No, I think we hung out maybe 3 times before we started the podcast.
Yeah. We got coffee. We got coffee. Three. Yeah, it was 3 times. We met because of Instagram. Because I was doing comedy videos on my Instagram, and Jay, of course, was doing comedy. But I saw his stand-up clips just because he has all these followers, and he did a great set with Don't Tell Comedy, and I was just a fan. I was just a casual fan, and then we you posted from a soccer game, a mutual friend of ours. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, I know. Hmm?
somebody you worked with at Comedy Central, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah. Um, and then we just got to we were DMing each other like very casually. And Jeff, I'm not sure if I ever told you this. Wait, this is so funny that I like when we first hung out, I was like we talked about this idea of like being accepted by the comedy community and wanting to feel like we finally belong in comedy, this sort of like imposter syndrome that never really leaves you. And I was texting with some high school friends of mine, and I think I sent them like your Instagram, and I was like, okay, I think I'm becoming friends with this guy on Instagram. What is a like cool straight dude way to say, do you want to get coffee? And no one had any good answers, and I just like was totally in my head about it. And then you figured it out. You were like, you want to get coffee? It's like, yes, yes, I do.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's one of those weird things as like adult men in your 40s. It's kind of tough sometimes to make new friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I not that I'm cheating on Jesse, but I did have a guy who saw me at the Comedy Store this weekend who works in the biz, reached out yesterday and was like, "Do you golf by any chance?" And
Who
I
is
was
he?
like,
Who is he?
um,
That's
he
awesome.
wor- yeah, he works. Well, it doesn't matter, but yeah. So now I'm going to golf with this guy.
Do you golf?
No, I mean, my New York City public high school actually had golf gym as one of the ways you could get out of actually being productive.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
which is fun because you're in the middle of New York City, and so there's no place to like go golfing. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just all these like city kids, and we're all in the gym, and we have golf clubs, which is already very dangerous, and then you hit those little golf balls that have all the holes in them that kind
Yep.
of look like little ping pong balls, kind of thing, and you just sit there and whack them across the gym and try to hit the basketball hoop. And I got so good with a 7-iron, I could put it in the box from across the nothing else.
Oh, you're talking
And the,
about real golf clubs.
yeah.
Oh.
And which is insane in a New York City public school because I'd seen people get fucked up by shit way easier. You know, it was dangerous enough letting the kids have books because they would beat each other with books. Um,
I just love the idea of a high school giving kids like retiree sports to play. Like why not just bocce ball and a Sudoku? Like
well, now we're talking.
That's
I keep
it.
a bocce ball. I keep the bocce ball set in the trunk in case I got to go at all times. That's kind of my
Got to
vibe.
pull it out. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, this is how I make friends. Like, I pull out the bocce ball set. But yeah, finding new friends is, especially it feels like as a man, it feels such a difficult thing. I feel like I've had friends before and we would go grab wings or something. And then we both just sit there and not talk to each other. And it's like,
Yeah.
what is
I,
this?
I think that's why movie nerds are very lucky because they can just go sit in a dark theater with other men they met
Yes.
and then walk out and be like, "Isn't Paul Thomas Anderson amazing?
Yep.
The new trailer dropped today."
Yep. So it's something that I'm like, my wife's like, you need more friends, and I'm like, I know, but what I gotta do?
Easier said than done.
Like, so definitely like working that way. I don't know. I find that like with men, you have to just keep pestering them, like, hey, I'm here, hey, and it's just like, oh, and that just might be everybody. Everybody's just kind of like in their own world on their phones, doing their own things, having their own lives. Like once you get to like 30, 40, you're just like, oh, I'm set. Like life is supposed to be a certain way. So
I also think it depends on what city you live in, and a lot of times, if you work in the arts, you probably transplant into a city that's not the one you're originally from.
for sure, yeah.
So it's pretty much work, and then if you're dating or family, it's that, and it's kind of hard to meet people unless you're meeting them through work.
That is the way that I've done it in the past. So it's just like
What city
now it
are
feels
you?
like I'm in Phoenix.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So now, I mean, the plan is just to like put myself in places that I like to be, and then hopefully I come across people. But that might just be like at a coffee shop reading a book by
I was,
myself for a little bit.
I was literally gonna say just go hang out at Cartel Coffee.
Yeah, Cartel's fire. Yeah,
Pizzeria.
but I want to talk about your all's podcast before we got too far. I love your all's podcast. I feel like it's such a creative, interesting take. You guys are always doing something fun. The episode that I really liked was the one about you guys are ranking the different brands on like the socio, like how crazy they were basically. And it was just so fun and so fresh. Like it was very enjoyable to watch. How did you all conceptualize this, or like what were you wanting to do when you first came together?
I mean, Jeff, I remember, well, this was the third time we were getting coffee. And you and I, this first and second time, were just kind of talking about like Instagram strategy and like how do we make comedy on the internet, and just sort of like we were just sort of commiserating about how to like grow and how to do this. And I think we, in the comedy world, the podcast is having such a moment where everyone can kind of do a video podcast. So
Yep.
we never talked about like we didn't have to necessarily talk about the idea of like, have you ever considered a podcast? Because it's just like it is one of the most strong options. Obviously, we
For
all
sure.
we all know that at this point. And I think I remember like Jaf was doing such a good job of helping me because he has so many years of experience as a stand-up, getting me used to producing more comedy videos for my own Instagram. And I wanted to do something podcasty because it felt like a good prompt just to keep doing it. And I remember driving I live on the other side of town from him, and I was driving all the way to not Go Get 'Em Tiger. What is it? Highly Likely.
Highly likely.
Highly Likely in Culver City. And I just had this very vague idea of the name the mood board came to me first, and I was like, it's just gonna be like this. There's this idea that every creative person just has one weird thing that they're obsessed with at any point in their life, and we will talk to people about that. And I like brought it up to you at coffee, and I was like, I think I want to do this show. And then as we were getting into our cars, you in a similar moment you just said, hey, do you want to go get coffee after? I was like, how do I get this other guy to go get coffee with me? You just said like, that's really good. If you ever want to do something like that together, we should do that because we have good chemistry. And I was like, we do have good chemistry. And I don't
Yeah.
think there was a second thought after that.
Yeah, and also your idea was similar to like a podcast idea I had and wanted to start, and that I even had shot maybe like two or three pilot episodes for. And I thought together it would be better because I've like started a bunch of like done pilots and even shot like a bunch of episodes of other podcasts, but none of them. I have one podcast I did, and I did the pilot episode with one of my best friends in comedy. Her name's Jenny Zagrino, and it was great. And then I was like, great, I got a show. And then I made like 10 more episodes with other people, and I was just like, oh wait, me and Jenny just have a great chemistry. And some of half of the episodes were good, half were horrible. And the podcast was pretty interesting. But I knew that me and Jesse had good chemistry, and my idea for a different podcast was going to be called For the Culture, and it was just going to be have people bring in like 3 different cultural like pieces of art that would interest them, whether it be movies or books or TV, and I was going to interact with them beforehand, which in retrospect is so much fucking homework.
It is.
Like I'm going to watch a movie, read a book, do an hour of a movie. Fuck that. And so like our podcast is enough homework enough sometimes.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
so I was just like, oh, this seems like a way we could kind of merge the two. And we did. And we shot a pilot in my house. Jesse came over, and it was great. And we each brought, I think, 3 things.
Yeah.
And like, we were like trying to get through all these things. And it was like, this feels like almost too much. And then we were like, but we knew that something was there, and there was one or two that really worked. And so then we did like how many other episodes? Maybe we did like 3 or 4 other episodes.
I think it was 3. I think, or maybe 4. It was
maybe 4 because we did that pilot. We did one on the fashion of soccer. We did the Bauhaus one. We did the magazine one.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was maybe one other one in there.
Well,
so maybe 5.
Maybe.
We did. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say what's so funny, Cameron, is that like you know that feeling when I mean we kind of talk about this chemistry we recognize we immediately have, and you
Yep.
know you got an idea when you just like similar to what the premise of the podcast is,
Hmm.
like when you got an idea you're obsessed with, and it's just you just feel like you're dropped on a runaway train, and you have no option but to just sort of like make good on what you're doing. Like we shot the first one at his house, and I live further out in the burbs, and I have like a relatively big garage that I was like kind of a mess, and we had just cleaned it up, my wife and I. And if you give me a vacuum, I'm gonna fill it with something. I'm gonna fill the
Yep.
space with something.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm not even sure if I was texting you about it while I was doing it, JF, but I was just like, I'm sorry, I have built a set in my garage, and we're gonna shoot here now. And I've never done any of this. I built theater flats. I figured out 3-point lighting. Like this
And
idea,
you did
it
it all really quick. Like I think I was on tour for like 20 days in Europe, and I
yeah.
came back and he had built out a full studio for us.
It was crazy, but you know that feeling of like when you got
Yep.
an idea, and you're old enough to know like I could squander this and just let it evaporate into the air, or like I don't know, man. I'm getting old. Time is slipping by. I have 2 kids. Like the weather's nice. Whatever. I'm gonna just try this out, and if I mess it up, c'est la vie. But now we have this set, and you came over, and we were configuring like, is it a chair? Is it a table? We were constantly noodling with it, and also
Yep.
noodling with the format. And it was
Yeah,
so
originally like we started with an iPad to like look at
Mm.
stuff. We didn't have like our cameras weren't were shutting off all the time. Like
oh my god.
it kept yeah, honestly, it kept like building each episode. Like Jesse would
For
find
sure.
a way to noodle with stuff to the point where finally one day I came in and he just had a full monitor turned on its side on like a crane to mirror a phone screen with Figma inside of it, which is the app that we use to like
Hmm.
build the boards on. And and then that was the first one where I think you came up with the um, insane design premise episode. And that was the first one where we were like, after doing like 5 other episodes, that we were like, all right, we think this is kind of what the show is. And
Nice.
it was also like the first one where the cameras didn't fuck up on us.
Yeah.
You're
That
like,
was
this is
like
actually usable. Like, we can actually use this.
I
Where,
cannot tell
where
you
Jesse
how.
didn't have to go through and do a ton of posts. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're not at the point where we have somebody helping us with like
Yep.
posts or clips yet, which might be hopefully changing sooner than later. Like
Nice.
we're trying to find somebody to like help in basically be our like digital producer kind of person.
Hmm.
But we're it was just that point where it kind of clicked and we were like, all right, let's drop this one. And like the one before that, I think it was magazines. And we kind of were like, okay, we think we might be there. And
And
then
that was you. That was a you thing because you brought on the magazines, you turned it into a game. It was and suddenly it was like, you know what?
Yep.
Every comedy person we know feels like they can like okay, you and me, we're best friends. Let's fire up the mics, fire up the cameras,
Hmm.
and we'll talk for an hour every week, and people will love it. And that might have worked back in like 2014, but
Yep.
like you kind of need to put some effort into this stuff now.
Yep.
And like prior to working at Apple, I was actually working at Taylor Tomlinson's show After Midnight. So I had
RIP.
yeah, right. So I have some like late night experience, and that like JF, you doing that gamifying the magazine, like basically what was it? You like pitch me like a stupid like
I
description of the
think the premise.
magazine, and I had to guess the magazine.
Oh yeah, that's what it
Like
was. I
tote
came
bag
up.
the magazine, and I was like, the New Yorker, yes, the New Yorker, because it's the tote bag everyone carries
Gotcha.
around. Um, and it was a great like, oh my god, this is a late night segment. They're returning into a show,
Yep.
and that was a thing that I was like, if you didn't do that, I don't think the next episode absolutely wouldn't have happened that way. And it's also crazy to think the name of our show is the Mood Board, and it wasn't until episode 5 we had a mood board actually on camera. It took us that long to figure out
Yep.
our like how to use our name. it's so funny, but we just let this thing evolve the way it was gonna evolve.
Which I love because I feel like with a lot of creative stuff, especially, I mean, me having ADHD, I'm very judgmental and then I procrastinate so much on like getting started
Mm-hmm.
that like I once I let myself this is the third iteration of this podcast. I've had two other versions of it, and the first version was with a friend, and we started doing like we were doing research and like doing topics, and like it was more like of like video where we're like video essay. It was more like video essay episodes, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't it. Like, this is a lot of work, and this isn't it." The second iteration was just towards designers, and I was like, "That's not it either. I just want to talk to like more creative people." But this one I started, and I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna let it flow as it is." Like at the beginning, I was doing a lot of random questions, like to kind of figure out how to be more confident as a host, and now I've just kind of let it be like, let's just have a conversation. So I love the fact that you're like, we're open to letting this evolve, because I think the best work comes when you let it evolve naturally instead of like being so stuck on what you started with, because it's not always the best when you start with stuff.
Yeah, and we also just like did our first episode with a guest recently and like let them
Yeah,
bring in a board and stuff like
yeah,
that. So I think the show's gonna keep, you know, and some we've had like talks of like let's do more of a hang episode and then
yeah.
where the topic is a little bit more loose and then like we wanted to do an Oscars episode, right? So, and we had no plan, and then we got on. We this is why we know we have a good connection. We were like, "Are we doing an Oscars episode tomorrow?" And it was like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna do an Oscars episode." It was like, "Do we have anything figured out?" And it's like, "We better get on the phone." And we jumped on the phone in 15 minutes. We were like, just bullshitting, and then we just came up with the three games that were the three episodes in about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
That's
one was like based
crazy.
off of a friend of mine's tweet. One was based off of just like Jesse's idea to like let's give an Oscar for like best design, and then we were like let's give a award to the best award, like visual style awards, and then we could just like run through and rip and make jokes about each.
I love that. That's crazy. And like I said, I can tell you guys like have that vibe together. Just everything's been so electric. Like watching you all in your podcast, and I mean even the things that you guys are doing on social. Like Jesse, I found you because I started seeing those comedy videos you were putting out, and just
Oh,
the
cool.
tone
Good.
of it. Yeah, the tone of it is so good, and again, it feels like it comes from a different angle than what is traditionally out there. And I was just
And as
drawn
somebody who
right in.
loves, yeah, and as somebody who loves stand up and graphic design, like I saw those
Yeah.
with like the great fonts and the good jokes and the hot
Yes.
takes and the different angles, and I was just like, it made me jealous. I was like, I
Yeah.
wish that stand up was a little bit more like this. And it's also funny because as a person who knows very little about like motion graphics or
Mhm.
stuff like that, I just have like an eye for what I know is good. To watch it, it's also just super impressive because I'm like, ah, fuck, I wish I knew how to do all of that stuff.
You guys. But Cameron, I want to, if I can ask you a question, because
Yep.
JNF and I are pretty new into this show, getting it off the ground. We're finding a following, and it's so exciting. And I think one of the things we're always like thinking about is like, who is the person that's listening to this and is like is extremely for them, you know? And
For sure.
we see them pop up in the comments, but we rarely get a chance to be like ask them like why, what is it doing for you? And like my question I guess is like,
Why are people watching this?
yeah, kinda. I mean, like, because I think one of my personal kind of mission to it, Jeff, I doubt you have this in your head because I'm so in the design world, and I
Hmm.
feel like the design world, uh, podcasty thought leadership stuff,
For
either
sure.
is like, uh, I think downright predatory a little.
Yep.
With Jeff and I've talked about like LinkedIn influencer stuff,
Yep.
which is kind of toxic and awful, or very sincere and self-helpy, which is great.
Hmm.
That's great for some people, or like generically inspirational.
Yep.
And what I always wanted to do is like, I've had all these cool creative jobs. The stuff that inspired me was just like like cracking jokes with my friends and that being the most fun. So I've always got into this being like I work from home, I'm remote. I think a lot of people are remote. I don't
Yep.
get to like bullshit with my pals anymore and avoid
For
doing
sure.
work, and I always want that to come across. Jeff, your work life is like, 2 nights ago you're working was it a comedy store? Where were you at?
Yeah, I did shows at the Hollywood Improv and then the Comedy Store. And I did like a fun, like topical news pulling jokes out of buckets show, and
Oh,
then like
nice.
show in the main room with like Veer Das and Bobby Lee and like, just like, to like 400 people. And so like it's funny, my joke has a real my job has a real yin and yang. Like
Hmm.
so much of my job is like being in this, the barn, the office by myself, like trying to like make sure that I'm productive and edit videos and write new jokes and stay off Instagram
Yeah.
besides posting,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
And then the other part of my job is like being out and being social and
And
getting to like
connecting.
hang with really smart comedians and like who are like discussing um, their penises or world politics or
Either one.
so,
Either one.
yeah,
Yeah,
usually both.
equal
Yeah,
importance.
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, but how does it hit for you? Like, what
Yeah.
is and yeah, I'll stop talking now.
Uh, all right, so we're doing the market research segment of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
episode.
exactly.
I feel like I think you're hitting on a lot of things that I've noticed about, especially the design industry. Something that's kind of annoyed me for a long time. I'm new to design. I came into design in around 2020.
Oh, okay.
Before that, I was an engineer. So it was like a complete career change when I went into it. I knew like of programs and stuff, and I was using them for fun. But I went into it professionally in 2020 because I got laid off from engineering, and I was just like, fuck it,
Oh,
like, so
What
I'm
kind
gonna
of
come over here.
engineer? What kind of
Uh,
engineer were you?
I was a mechanical, but I also had a degree in aerospace engineering. So I was
Yeah.
like working for like Honeywell, and it was not great. And
wow.
then they laid me off, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I love design, and my wife was supportive, very supportive, and like a lot of it came from her being so strong and like seeing like more in me than I saw in myself, kind of thing, which is
Love
very
that.
beautiful.
Love
We
Um,
love your wife.
I do too. I'm glad we're all on board there. Um,
that.
but it was one of those things where I came into design and like I'm almost 30 and I'm like, okay, well, how does this work? And I saw a lot of very predatory things pretty quickly. Like
Mm.
a lot of like you go to the podcast, you go to the self-help stuff, and it's just very predatory and just like trying to take advantage of you. And it was like I was always like, this stuff here doesn't have to be the only content that's here. So that's been my premise since I started designing, like started a podcast. I'm like, we could have fun and have a good time and do random stuff instead of having to be so like you
I'm
depending
here
on
to
me to
sell
give you
you a
money.
course.
Yes. I'm like, why is that the thing? So I'm always looking for something that's fresh, something that's different, something that when I'm working during the day, I can turn on in the background and be like, haha, or laugh or have a good time. It has that vibe that we're like at the water cooler, kicking it with friends
Mm.
instead of like, so like trying to make myself better all the time. Yes, there's time for that, but I think we need to be able to also chill. That's the other half of the piece of it is like, if we're not chilling, then you're gonna kill yourself. Like you're gonna run yourself into the ground if everything you do is just trying to improve yourself. So
I love the way you put that
yeah.
of
Same. It literally made me think of a log line. I was like, oh, we're the work from home water cooler show.
yeah.
Yes.
And I love this idea of like you can't be making yourself better all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Like there's I mean if you like Jeff was just talking about, if you find yourself sucked into TikTok and Instagram, you're either going to be like you are not influencered, but like you're
Yep.
influenced to like constantly try to you have to buy something or improve yourself or feel bad about yourself. And
Yep.
like I think one of the things I'm most proud of about the show is I've always wanted to demystify the creative process because
Yes.
I think
Yes.
it's really important to show like You don't have to be incredibly intelligent. I'm not incredibly intelligent. I'm not the most, definitely not the most talented. Um, and it's also a messy process, and also
Hmm.
like it's sometimes a better use of your time to misuse your talent on dumb.
Jesse froze up. Let's see if he kicks back in.
Yeah. Say it one more
You
time. You cut
froze.
off.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
froze up for a second.
I was on a really good tear there. You missed it.
You were saying
I was,
demystify the creative process, and
you can demystify the creative process because I think it can be a really great use of your talent to uh, apply creative thinking to dumb bullshit. And it can be it's a release, and it's also good
yes,
practice, and
yes,
it just brings like fun back into this. It's not always just like we're also scared of losing a client. Like, what if we
yeah.
just had a one moment where we're not talking about the fucking client? What if we just
Oh,
what
I
if
love that.
we captured that again? And Jeff, I'm curious if like I have very corporate day to day interactions, but you have the green room, which I can't. I've been in a couple of green rooms when I was doing improv. Like I have to imagine your work bullshitting is like either like the highest level of comedy, or it's like basically like just therapy,
Yeah.
because
It depends
comedians
on
swing both
where.
ways.
Yeah, it can be a little therapy, but also a lot of like the comedians I get along with the most and kind of gravitate to, whether it be in a work environment or just in the parking lot, kind of bullshitting. I like the ones who don't joke around too much and
Mm,
like actually want to talk about the real shit. Like I love jokes. I love fucking around. I love having fun. But I also love like how are we gonna make it ahead?
Mm.
Like I'm a big self-help person and I'm a big like person of action. So like anytime I figure out a new way or tool to like which might help like one of my fellow stand-ups out, like I love talking about that shit. I love talking about like where you been on the road. Oh, I love that club. This booker is
mm.
great. Like talking about airport lounges that are the best in the world. Somebody yesterday we were talking, we were at dinner, and I was just like, we were discussing about, and I'm like, yes, British Airways Heathrow Lounge, top five, love it, big fan. You know, Alaskan Airlines Seattle Lounge. Great one. Has a fireplace in it and baristas who make you coffee.
I think I've been to
You know
that
what I
one.
mean?
Crazy.
I love that one. But yeah, like how are you packing these days? What do you got for luggage? You know?
It's all these things that I don't even think about, but you're on the road all the time, so that makes so much
Oh my god,
sense.
I think about it so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my weekend Pro Plus bag, which is my carry on, and then I got my giant trunk for 2 weeks if I'm going to Europe or something like that.
Yeah, and the Europe stuff I think is worth talking about, because I think unlike maybe most comedians, you were doing these cruises that were bringing you out. You were in when we first started hanging out. You're like, okay, I'm going to be in Portugal for four
That's
days, and then I'm going to
crazy.
be in Mallorca or wherever. And I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
I
most
love
people are like in Kentucky at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I would just be in like England doing my own shows at like Top Secret or Comedy Store or, Rotterdam at Club Hag or Haug, or go live in Paris for a month and just do English stand up every night in Paris. A lot of it right now, yeah, is like talking about like to the thing of my job that is the most interesting to me at the moment is the I have my act, my stand up, and that's what people will come see. But also, the some of the stuff in my act is not stuff for the internet. Like my
Mm,
closing thing is a 22-minute engagement story. Like there's no way I'm chopping that up for short form clips.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what kind of then it's like talking to other comics about like what kind of content can you make um, that will connect to people that can give you a vibe of who you are that will bring them in so that they will come see the live show
For sure.
because
Yeah,
the live show
yeah,
is
that's huge.
how I pay my bills.
Hmm.
It's what pays the mortgage, and so it's a weird thing, and that's what really appealed to me about Jesse's stuff in the beginning is like I wish I could make stuff that was a little bit more like this. And the idea of having a podcast is like I want some place that I can go that's not like one of these fucking toxic male machismo podcasts like platforming white nationalists that I can
Yeah,
like
shit's
fucking
wild.
yeah, that like I can go on and talk about things that I love that might not necessarily be like the shit I would talk about in my stand-up act, but might get the people to come to my shows, and then I could talk about, you know, Comic Sans font.
For sure. It's like warming up the room. Like you're just like a
Yeah,
way to
or
warm
just
people
like
up.
fashion or Wilco or
Yeah.
soccer or I'm pretty politics heavy, and I'm pretty you know, world travel, personal story stuff. So it's like, yeah, how can I pull in the other interests for fun?
Yeah. I would love to ask you all about social media. I feel like, again, that's somewhere where we're all having to live. And especially if we're wanting to make money, I'm a freelancer. So there's just a lot of social media that has to be done. And sometimes not for any, like, you don't get directly paid for it. It's like an investment.
Yeah.
So, tip wise, you have any tips for people who have to live on the internet and have to feed into these algorithms? How do you all do that? And how do you, like, stay okay within doing those things? Yeah.
Say okay. You should hear the
Yeah.
conversation we had this morning.
I broke my phone on my honeymoon and wasn't on it for 20 days. So if you could do that.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. There we go.
Also in the past, like I've like, you know, I had a burner phone for a while that I had all my apps and clips loaded up on, and I just gave it to a younger comic and paid them to like do my posting for me. But it is tough because there's also times where I try to do a lot of topical stuff, and that like
Yep.
being in the moment on the news constantly trying to find a joke and that kind of stuff can be a little wearing and exhausting at times. But also then there's like finding a cool creator that makes something that makes you feel kind of juiced, which is equally as exciting.
Yeah. That's how I always feel too. It's like this toss up between like the good and the bad. I mean, it's good and bad. It's the duality of it all. Yeah, it can be tough. So
Yeah.
And
how do you deal, Jesse?
honestly, having creative partners makes it much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like having Jesse, who does most of the work, if I'm being honest, and we're trying to change that. And but like, it makes it way more fun. Like
For sure.
you know, like right now I'm trying to find like a cinematographer to help me up the look of my stand up, and like having coffee with somebody who like loves movies to help create stuff with is way more fun than just like
Doing it
feeling like you have to do it alone. Also, this is just like I'm throwing this out there. Trial reels is a thing going on right now that Instagram launched, and I would highly recommend taking advantage of those and just repost your shit that's did the best in the past. Just keep pumping it out on there, and it'll push it to all new people who aren't your fans, who are similar to your fans. And I've seen real growth in that. I went from being in like the low 20s to the low 40s, just doing that in like 3 months.
Wow, I've never even heard of that. That's crazy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, in a previous life, I worked in social media. Like when I moved from New York to LA, I worked my first real job was at Funny or Die here in LA. But then I was at BuzzFeed, and I saw how the sausage was made and how all that was built. So I took me a long time to get the sort of sour taste out of my mouth about social media and like and realize I could do things on my terms. I didn't know I was allowed to do that. And it really wasn't until I started making my own videos that it became fun for the first time. Actually, yeah, it became fun for the first time.
Yeah.
And I also think because I have so much video experience, like I take this shit way too seriously, and you know, like making it perfect, you know, which is a dance in making social media stuff, because like you're supposed to look like it's made in app, but these platforms also evolve, and like YouTube videos from when I was at BuzzFeed versus YouTube videos now is like the difference between TikTok and Netflix now. TikTok is supposed to feel shaggy and unimportant, and things are supposed to look really buttoned up. So the production of it has always been this thing that, like, I want to make something I'm proud of. You get it. You're a designer. You want to make something visually that looks like buttoned up and airtight. And for me, it's always going to be this negotiation of JF does a really good job of reminding me, like, it can just be a hang. It doesn't need to be perfect. What are you fucking talking about? And I need that. I need that reminder all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll say this. I've done the last time I shot a special, I was like on tour for a couple months getting ready to do my special and was touring nonstop. And towards the end of it, I was at the Atlanta Punchline, which is like one of my favorite clubs. And I had two like pretty much almost sold out Saturday night shows. And the first show I nailed. I did word perfect. The running of the special, I was like, that could have been the taping. Killed. People laugh where they were supposed to laugh, clap where they were supposed to clap. Just the whole time, just joke, right? And after the show at the merch table, everybody ran right out. Every single person ran right past me. A couple of people bought some stuff, but not a lot. The late show, I was burnt out on doing the hour because I've been running it like crazy. And I had a weird one. It was kind of loose. I hit the jokes. There was a couple strange moments, some weird crowd work. But it was like real moments in it. Let me tell you, I sold so much fucking merch that second show.
Wow.
Because people want the edges. They want the corner. People like wabi sabi. They don't like people. I like a finished product, but I also like seeing the sausage get made. I like podcasts, and that's why I like talking to people about craft and process and all those things, because that stuff is just as interesting. Like, if you try to nail it, you're going to miss the mark. It's like, you got to be a person, you got to make it, you got to try your best, you got to put it out. And especially now with social media, you just got to move on, because this thing's going to be on the internet for a day.
Yep.
And if you're lucky, a week later, somebody else might find it.
Yeah.
But like, that's about the shelf life of one of these clips now, like a day to maybe a week. So it's like, yes, you want it to be the best, but like, I've had like 5 things get over 1 million views in my Instagram days. I've had a lot more get 2,000 views.
For sure.
You know? Yeah. So it's like, it's just, you're just trying to get better for yourself. So this one that you make comes out. And I will say this, like, I was like dragging my ass on putting out some clips, right? On doing some news, like trying to do these like topical news jokes where I like just pick up the paper straight off the top of the dome, first joke that comes to me. It took me forever to get started. Finally, I made one. Just making one was the win, and it came out pretty good. And then this morning I made one, and it was the first one, similar with our podcast. Like, I made like 4 or 5 of them, and it was the 5th one, and I was like, oh, that one was good. I did that one good. I like that one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only was I like, that one was good, I was like, if that one doesn't do well, I don't give a shit. I did the thing. I did it.
Yeah.
And chances are it's not going to do well because it's on the internet.
Yeah. And we don't have control. I mean, you don't know what's going on the internet that day, so it's like it's all over the place.
We have control over nothing. I can hear the garbage truck coming down my street right now, so get ready for that.
I can talk over the truck real quick, because I think something that is, I think for like designers out there, creative professionals who are listening to this show, who haven't maybe considered modeling part of their lives on like a stand-up comedian, and what I like kind of started to do is like, I think we are seeing, obviously AI is starting to eat our lunch a little bit, right? And also like jobs are disappearing and budgets are shrinking, and the market, the talent pool is wider and deeper than it's ever been. Like the appreciable difference between myself, a motion designer who's been doing this for like 20 years, and someone who's your age, younger than me, who maybe have half the experience. I think talent-wise, at a certain point, it's splitting hairs. We might not be that different if we're kind of like in the same swimming in the same waters.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good idea for every creative professional to start learning how to market themselves just a little bit. And it's not just post a carousel of like, do you know why your brand isn't doing brand good? Here are top 10 brand things that brands should be branding more of. Like, none of it makes sense anymore. It's the same regurgitated garbage. And guess what? Paul Scherer or Michael Beirut has already said it way better than you ever will. So
100%.
so fuck off. Don't bother with that. But
Yep.
JF's point, if you can put a bit of your shaggy self out there and put like obviously you don't want to ruffle feathers, you don't want to like bite the hand
For
that
sure.
feeds, but you can put yourself out there a little bit. And I really do think that people hire the person they remembered yesterday. They don't have scales of like, I've been watching Cameron's talent and his talent is now 5% better than Jesse's, so he will get. It doesn't work that way. It's
No.
going to
Top
be
of inbox, baby.
it's going to be
How much
Jesse.
at the top of the inbox gets booked?
Yep.
Jesse
Be a
made
squeaky
5
wheel.
videos and Cameron didn't make 5 videos. And
Yeah.
that's why they remember my name and not yours. And you
Yep.
you have this podcast so people will remember you because you're doing this, and that's
For sure.
fantastic. I think everybody should find a way that, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get an audience of 500,000. If you're just looking to get more work, you need 400 of the right people, you need 20 of the right people, so I think it's good for everybody to be thinking of themselves a little bit like a touring stand-up comic, which is what I think
love that. I love that so much.
I was going to say, now if somebody can tell me how to be a touring stand-up comic online, that would be good.
I love that so much because I've had design friends who are just freaked out about the future, and they're like, is the future going to be where I have to have a platform to get a job? And it's like, I think we're already there, guys. Like, I know you're upset about it, but I think we're already there, and I think it's much better if you just start working at it. If there's something you feel uncomfortable about, you should just start working towards it.
Here's the thing. Every comedian who bitches that they have to be on Instagram, it's like, hey, I don't know if you realize this, but you don't need anybody else anymore. You don't need the comedy club booker. You don't need the dude who books the late night television show. You don't need the guy who's the head of Netflix to make you successful anymore. You have apps on your phone, several of them, and you can just do your own thing, launch it into the internet. You get enough followers, you can sell tickets. You have a living now. And they can't take it away from you. Apps
100%.
might go away and things like that. You build your own email list, you build your own fan base, you have a connection. You can be okay for the rest of your life.
100%. Off your back. That is like what I'm all about right now, especially after getting laid off. I've been laid off twice in like 3 years, like 3 years span. I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do my own thing. So that's
brutal
what
out
it's
there.
been all about. I want to wrap it up because I know Jesse has somewhere you have to be in a little bit.
Hard out.
So if you all want to share where people can find you on the internet, if you want to plug anything, this is that time. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up from there.
Yeah, man.
Jesse,
I think, it's our YouTube, the Mood Board podcast. The whole reason we're here. We love that show, and then my personal Instagram and I guess I'm taking TikTok seriously again is continued in the comments, CONTD in the comments, and
and my Instagram's at the JF Harris, JF's initials. People can follow me there. I have an hour special on Amazon Prime and on YouTube that you can watch that was produced by Bill Burr's company called People Make Mistakes. That's from like 2001. Hopefully I'll be shooting a new one soon. And then I'm always on tour. So I know I got some dates in St. Pete, Florida in May. I'm about to book some shows up in Portland soon, Chicago, and some other stuff. I'm going to be dropping some new tour dates soon. So give me a follow. You'll see when I'm coming. If you're in a city and you want me to come there, just DM me your city in an email.
Nice. I appreciate y'all both being here. I really enjoyed. I really enjoy the comedy aspect of it. I love comedy, so just having two people who really have a love for comedy. You guys are the first ones ever to kind of go into that lane, like the comedy.
Oh, amazing,
so
man! And
I would like to go into that lane more. Like,
I feel like we could have done this for another 2 hours. This is so fun.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
stand up. Go to Stand Up Live in Phoenix.
So yeah, I'll catch you guys. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and we'll definitely be in contact. So
Sweet. Thanks
That's
for
good,
having
bud.
us.
yeah.
Thanks, man.